Hey guys, welcome back to the biggest agricultural platform in Namibia known as Induna Wengombe, which means the headman of cattle. I am of course the headman of cattle, Mitchell Mutumba Simata, aka the headman of cattle. So I was watching Landboom, Vierkliks, and there was a livestock farmer, a cattle farmer, who was speaking about intensive and extensive farming, how he has incorporated both on his farm to be able to combat drought, and he finds this is the best method for his agriculture, for his agricultural practices, and it keeps him quite profitable. So then I had to do research on intensive and extensive agriculture, and then I'll give my opinion on which one is better. But let's get into it. As you guys know, I'm never writing, so I got my trusted notebook here. So, intensive agriculture. Most of the farmed animals live in a significant portion of their lives in industrial factory farms that uses a variety of intensive methods to produce more meat, dairy, or eggs for less money. One such method is keeping the animals enclosed in small places and delivering food to them. This forces them to grow more quickly and reduces the need for space. Another example of intensive methods in animal agriculture is the use of selective breed animals that grow more quickly than natural occurring ones, and get large enough for slaughter in shorter periods of time. This often results in harsh defects for these animals in terms of they're not good walkers. They breathe quite heavy. They can't stand too long because all they do is eat and stand. Less exercise, bodies aren't that strong. Crop yield. High crop yields are one of the key benefits of intensive farming. A wider range of food can be produced on small pieces of land. It is more productive, uses less land and agricultural inputs per unit of production generated. That's intensive. Let's get to extensive. Extensive farming. The term extensive farming refers to a type of farming that uses expensive equipment and chemical fertilizers. Pesticides in agricultural research. It is practiced in areas with large agricultural land masses and low population density. In countries with low population and abundance of arid land, countries such as Argentina, Australia, United States of America, parts of Africa, and Russia. This style of farming is very common. Extensive farming is a method of agricultural production that consumes less manpower, fertilizers, and money compared to the amount of land being farmed. What are the benefits? Increased income. Since there is a sizable overall yield in this farming, farmers make good money, more profitable. Marginal profits are large because the cost of production is low, creates less pollution. The amount of insecticides and pesticides used is less on the soil, and that means the soil is not highly polluted. So there are the two methods of farming, intensive and extensive. Which one do I think is the best? If you're farming on smaller portions, let's say you're farming 100 hectares, 200 hectares, or 700 hectares, like what we did, you might have to consider incorporating intensive and extensive farming methods, because you do not have 1,000 or 2,000 hectares to be able to let your animals walk all over the place. So you might have to run both. And particularly if you're in an area which is drought prone, you might have to marry intensive and extensive. Intensive means maybe building a form of feedlot on your farm for when there's drought periods, being able to keep your animals in the feedlot and just feed them for that time, which will be costly unless you do some research and you look for cheaper feeds, because I believe intensive farming will be costly because you're keeping the animals confined, you're feeding them for that period. Let's say there's a whole drought for the whole year, you're just buying different type of feeds and you're using quite high inputs of money to be able to produce a product. And then if you are farming, and if, let's say, the rains come, then you can switch back to extensive farming, which means you can send your animals out, they can walk through the field, they don't need to be brought food to, they go get their food in the forest. So this farmer was incorporating the two. Intensive in terms of he was planting his own grazing. He would plant and irrigate it, which is more intensive. Of course, you have to plow, which requires manpower, fuel, diesel, seeds, because now he was planting Lucerne and planting other type of pastures for his animals to do an intensive system. And then when the rains are good in the field and the grazing is good in the camps, he would incorporate an extensive farming method, which means the cattle go out there and eat for themselves, and they don't need people walking after them or looking for them. They go graze and bring themselves back. So what do I think livestock farmers will have to do? I think you have to find a balance to try to incorporate both intensive and extensive. Period of drought periods, like I said, feeding your animals, keeping them, maybe planting a pasture where you feed them, where you keep them in that pasture and you feed them for that time. And then after a while, when the rains come back and the grass is back to normal, you release them so they will go do extensive. So we might have to start marrying it. It was quite an interesting concept when he was talking about intensive and extensive farming, how he was able to marry it together. Almost a time of drought, he feeds his sheep. His sheep come in to his farm, near his farmhouse, where he has planted a patch of pasture. The sheep stay there for the whole year. And then when the rains come back, maybe let's say 90 days or so, when the rains come, he releases the sheep out to go and graze in the natural field. But if it's completely dry and there's nothing to eat, he keeps them on that field, which he plants, irrigates, and he keeps it growing. So it grows to a point where it's ready for the livestock to graze. So those are things that probably farmers have to consider in future. With that said, I just want to say bye for now.